Matt wanted for this car is to not really cut into the body, because it's probably never going to see original again, but I understand where he's coming from. To not have to butcher a car, especially one of this vintage, and then still modernize it and make it kind of cool is a good thing. So yeah, so Matt wanted to see how obvious the intercooler is going to look with the cut front panel and the bumper, and it does show a little bit, but I mean, it's not too bad considering the intercooler is going to hide behind the grille. So that's pretty good. Where we've mounted it lower enough so the bonnet catch can still find its way home and not hit the intercooler. So unfortunately, if we were to lift that up higher and mount it straight to this panel, which still needs to have paint stripped and painted, but we'll get to that. Yeah, having the intercooler up higher mounted to this would probably would definitely hide the intercooler, but yeah, then we'll have to run into different types of bonnet stay situations like bonnet pins and that, and we don't really want to do that. I think this is an aftermarket RX-7 intercooler. It's actually quite thick, so Matt wanted to use that for obviously better cooling purposes. I've never really had to install a custom radiator. I've never really had to install a custom intercooler before. I utilized the original mounting holes, made this bracket, welded this threaded bung on, which I'm not the greatest. Well, I'm still learning aluminium welding, so don't judge that too hard. Also, both outlets went straight out. We've got this space here that we can pop our pipes straight through. So I welded these little cast elbows. Once again, good opportunity to practice aluminium welding. Turned out pretty good. Don't know if it leaks, but hope not. Used the original mounting posts and made a bracket. Sort of funny looking bracket, but that should allow the pipe to go straight in. This radiator is some cheap eBay thing. I cut off and blocked off the outlet, which was on this side here, and welded it onto the other side because the water pump fitting is on that side. Once again, some more alloy welding. Let's hope it doesn't leak. There's a little stainless cold side pipe. Pretty easy, 290 bends. Just had to shorten a little bit using the cable tie technique. We're just currently mocking up an intake for the turbo, so I've just gotten some mild steel. This is only a mock-up stage. We'll probably use aluminium or stainless if we decide to run this, but I just did some dodgy pie cuts on a bandsaw, and we think that might work. And then the pod filter can, you know, obviously needs a reducer or whatever to go over the top, and hopefully grab some air from the front. Electronic boost controller mounted in an original threaded area of the engine bay. Once again, not butchering anything. The coils are nice and solid. Matt likes it in this orientation rather than having them all bunched together in a mount and then mounted somewhere in the engine bay. So that's so he can use shorter leads. All I did was made some brackets that mount to the timing case, and another one at the back there on a block. So this is a stainless steel threaded rod. I tried different iterations, but this seemed to work well with some nuts on either side, and they don't go anywhere. A little bit industrial, but seems to work. So a lot of tight bends, as you can see. So we want the intercooler pipe to sort of come around up into here. So we're going to be using 2.5 inch stainless steel. I'm going to pie cut it at 1D. So the pie should be nice and tight to be able to make it move in a couple of directions. These are some pies are pre-cut. These ones, I cut some more from when I did the exhaust, but they should still work for what I need it for. Of course, have to clean up all the dags inside. I'll run that through the linisher. The line that I drew on the pipe, that helps to obviously cut these little sections out, but also when you're relining them up, if you want it to be dead straight, line up those reference lines, or if you want it to go around in little S-bends, then you don't have to use that, you can just tack it as you go. So clean them up, tack them together, see how it looks on the car. So as you can see, it sort of bends in one direction and flips over and goes back around. Keep working on this. I need to fix up some of these gaps because stainless steel does like nice tight gaps. And mostly I'm fusing it together. Some areas I might need to dab a little bit, but I'm an amateur, so it is to be expected. So it's gonna go in like there, and then a little right angle elbow, 2.5 inch to 2 inch. Should work. See, I'm not going to pretend I'm the best welder or I have precision equipment. I've only been TIGging for probably 2 years. I've had the welder, but I've just been doing odd jobs for myself anyway, so it's all good practice. That's why I'm liking these pie cuts, because it's obviously giving me some good TIGging practice, and I'm just happy that I've got colour. So as you can see, I'm pretty much just fusing this little bend. I'm not even back purging because that's a waste of material, and I don't want to. Yeah, so I didn't do the best in regards to precision fit up, but this is where I'm gonna use the stainless rod to fill in that gap. Not perfect, probably not great to some welders, but at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a stainless little tight bend for an intercooler pipe, and this is what we're achieving. And these end bits, I'm pretty sure that's a 7 degree or a 9 degree angle, and then there's a straight cut. That's so we can actually get the silicon bends onto the little onto this little section here and clamp it down. Ending it at a pie won't seal properly or won't clamp down properly, so that's it. Finish this off. Okay, all welded up. Some snot where I had to use the filler rod to fill up the big gaps. But yeah, let's offer this back up to the car. Oh. The exhaust has taken shape, so got a V-band out of the GBC there. A couple of pie cuts to bring it straight down. Got a V-band connector there. I'm going to solidly mount it close to the cross member here. I'm yet to do that. I'm utilising the hanger from the previous exhaust. I've only just tacked this in. I've made a, I don't know, like a little tab. So that seems to have done a pretty good job. Just another little pie cut to make it sweep up. Sweep up to follow the floor pan there. And look, we know it's unnecessary. We know it's probably a waste. We should have used mandrel bends and stuff like that, but Matt bought 6 meters of stainless steel pipe and he said, "Hey Ange, do you reckon you could do a lobster cut exhaust?" And I've never done it before, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. It'll be good practice. It's his material. I'd probably waste the gas anyway on my project, so it's all learning, and yeah, probably going to get hate for it. He's probably going to get people say, "Hey, it's so 2010," but at the end of the day, it's kind of funny, and that's what this car's all about. This car's a bit of a funny thing, 60s Corolla, boosted, running in crappy forklift motor. Should make for a pretty fun and enjoyable car, so it is what it is. And up over the diff with a complete lobster section. It's trial and error. It works. It'll clear the future diff. I think he's got a Borg Warner lined up for it. But hey, we don't know. If there is issues, if there's clearance issues, or it's bouncing against the body, then we'll fix it. I mean, yeah, this is not a customer's car. It's just 2 mates working on it. So think of it as you will. But we're pretty happy with it. Matt's happy with it. I'm happy with it. It's been a pretty fun little project, and getting your head around that sort of stuff. I just hit my head on a leaf spring. Yeah, so heaps of respect for welders and stainless steel welders and tiggers that do this for a living, because it's not easy. And for a real professional job, my hat goes off. So the plan is to reuse this muffler. Actually sounded pretty good, just needs a bit of a clean up. I weld a V-band, so the muffler, just so when you need to take off the exhaust, you can just unbolt it from the crossmember side and unbolt it from here and it'll come off no problem. So mounted here where the old hanger used to be, and sort of ripped off. Now that the tab is fully welded and the exhaust is sitting in position unassisted, I can move on to another task while waiting on a universal hanger to complete the rest of the exhaust. Moving on, because this car will be managed by a Haltech Elite, Matt found this flex fuel sensor for cheap, so I was tasked with making a bracket to mount it. In keeping with the assignment of minimal butchering to the car, I made a plate out of aluminium to pick up the threads from the factory coil location on the firewall. I used riv nuts to mount the sensor to the plate and a bit of black paint and she's sweet. Earlier I mentioned about the radiator top panel needing to have the old paint and surface rust removed, as it and the front stone tray panel are next to be primed and painted. Because this panel is oddly shaped, a paint stripping disc or sander wouldn't be very effective, and I would probably wear out the discs quickly because of the sharp edges and end up with a lot of nooks and crannies missed. As you can see, paint stripping old enamel paint is very satisfying. There's no point doing all this work and then leaving the underside looking like crap. It too copped some paint stripper to get the bulk of the old paint off. Then I can proceed with the other methods to reveal shiny new steel. Off camera, I quickly hit it with a wire wheel on a grinder and finished it off with a cheap gravity fed spot blaster to get all the nooks and crannies cleaned up. A little trick I used is a solution of phosphoric acid and metho to coat the steel for some form of protection if I won't be priming straight away. Don't ask me what this chemical combination does, I know nothing about the periodic table. With a combination of paint stripper, twist knot wire wheel on a grinder, a spot sandblaster and some diluted phosphoric acid solution, the panel is paint free, rust free and in bare metal with some protection until I'm ready to get out the spray guns. About a year ago I paint stripped this stone tray and coated it in some zinc phosphate. You might have noticed it hanging in the shed in the background of a couple of videos. It held up alright for storage, but now it's time to get it super clean ready for epoxy primer. I buzzed it down with the clean and strip disc to see what needs attention, so there is some deeper surface rust to contend with, and the flanges definitely need some attacking. Often overlooked, if you don't clean the flanges, how's the paint going to stick to surface rust? The rust was super stubborn. I started off with an 80 grit roll-lock disc to knock down a majority of the rust, and then I got my favourite roll-lock clean and strip disc on a die grinder and really pushed it into the flanges just to clean out all the gunk. Okay, a couple rounds of deoxidine. It's given me a good opportunity to actually see the condition and whether I cleaned out all those rust pits, and no, there's still quite a bit that I need to contend with, even there in the middle of the screen there. But for the most part, looking pretty good. Need a bit more attention. Give it the top here. The back side I'm pretty happy with. I think that's ready for some epoxy primer. Just give it another clean. You would have seen me earlier concentrate on these areas. These were quite thick, and the surface rust was stuck on there pretty hard, so I grinded it down first, and then I got the clean and strip wheel on a die grinder there to really get into the pores. It's the little things. So I see a bit of a blue rainbow tinge, that's the dioxidine. Apply it with a scourer, a damp rag to wipe the bulk off, a wet rag to neutralize, and a dry rag with some air to dry it off. Does take some practice and a couple of goes to get right, but we don't want to see any of that white chalky residue, which I did notice here, but that's okay, I'll go over it again. That's another round of wire wheeling. As you can see, it does a good job of cleaning it up. This process does take a few times to get perfect, so don't be afraid to go over and over again, just to make sure you get every last bit of anything that could come back and haunt you. I like these stainless steel wire brushes. They're not really good at removing paint and that sort of stuff. They're really fine, so it'll actually get inside those pits and clean them out. That's pretty much the only thing I find these good for. I like these little clean and strip discs on a die grinder. Away you go, and yeah, it's just easier than lugging a angle grinder around with a bigger disc. This actually gets into nooks and crannies a little bit better. Because recycling, this is the old muffler bracket. There's a universal one which I've had to modify, so I cut the rubber in half, try to make it the same height. Okay, so I am winging this, but the bracket seems to be doing its job. I'm out of V-band clamps, so I just need that to tie it up, and then I can get it into position and fully weld it around here with the MIG. And I'll probably use 309 wire for the mild steel to stainless on the TIG. But that's the idea. All right, people, I'll leave it at that with this video. That's where we're at with the Corolla. We're all up to date. A few more things to purchase, and then we'll get stuck into it and tick a few more things off until it gets to a position where Matt's happy to take it home. So yeah, thanks very much for checking out this video. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
See you.